therapist. How can I help you guys see eye to eye? We've located them far apart from each other for that very reason, because we were worried they were going to go at each other. I want to just, let's just start right off. JP, if you could switch it over for a second. I do want to, because I know this is a very technical thing we're talking about, and I do want to sort of dumb it down a little bit. I've got up here, and I'm sorry, I took it off the net, probably off Eric's service, it just shows you exactly how a piece of content gets to, oh, sorry, I got my music still on. Let me just turn that off. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So you can see there's a query on Billie Jean MP3, and then it ends up, I've got it. And I just get Eric to take you through it, because he sort of knows, while Dave tries not to punch him. Here we go.
So I think this is maybe an oversimplification of what is really going on. So this can't do it justice.
Throw me a bone here.
We'll go element by element, and I think we have 2.5 hours for this. I think the fundamental point of peer-to-peer is it enables your consumers to also become producers. It's a technology that allows people to contribute content back to other members of the audience as they are themselves consuming it. And that's where really the efficiencies of the technology come into play. I guess that's our website, so forgive the very bad marketing here, but what the technology enables is users to bring infrastructure to the table. And that really helps a big problem where you have no idea how big your audience is going to be. If you were thinking about this from the tech guys down in the dungeon of your media company somewhere that are forced to sweat this stuff, they have no idea how much infrastructure to build. They don't know how much to buy, how much to put in the ground, how much to turn on, how much to run. And that's a big challenge when you don't know how big your audience is. Provisioning for that audience, it could be Victoria's Secret, it could be something that's less than viral, shall we say. And that can be a challenge. With peer-to-peer, you overcome that challenge because no matter where your users are, if something gets popular in Poland, there is infrastructure being created magically in Poland to support it. If something gets popular in Peru, same function applies. And because each user is bringing resources, computers, their network connectivity, they're paying the power bill for you, that can be a very powerful effect, and it can essentially level the cost structure of digital distribution. Today on the internet, the cost structure for pushing content to an audience is a linear function. As the audience gets bigger, as your content gets bigger, your costs go up in a linear fashion. That doesn't scale. Peer-to-peer allows that line to be flat, fixed, and pretty close to zero, which is something close to what the broadcast medium has always delivered for this industry. And it's really the first technology that allows a return to that kind of ecosystem.
And Dave, why do you have such a problem with it?
I was going to say, so our beef with peer-to-peer is not that it's inherently bad technology, but our beef with peer-to-peer is that 99% of the traffic that's currently riding on it right now is, I don't believe, respecting intellectual property rights. So it's content that somebody's...
But, I mean, isn't it just that I want the content, right? I've got views up here, right? But and I can't see it, and I want it, right?
So that's the inherent challenge. That's where we have created this problem. So Eric's network could potentially be part of a comprehensive solution that a cable company could adopt, and it's actually quite an interesting way to distribute content throughout. But we have two main problems with it. One, the intellectual property rights typically aren't being respected, and two, it's really an inefficient way of getting that content out for the ISP. So when Eric says he takes the transport costs for somebody from X down to zero, he's really saying he's taking the content producers or the poster of the content transport cost down to zero. But for us in the ISP cable business or the telco ISP business, it's actually in many cases a really inefficient way to get that content out there. So it's 5 times more efficient for us to stream something off of a locally cached server than it is to use this method. So
just to maybe define that, so what you're talking about is placing the content. So if I have a Rogers account and I have Rogers cable, you would place this on a server that's close to my home, and if I was on Rogers, I would access it, and that's much easier delivery system
Absolutely. So what we've looked at is, why are people going to peer-to-peer sites? Why are they going to BitTorrent and LimeWire and the like? And what's that fundamental customer need that's driving the behavior? I don't believe that anybody wakes up and says, I want to watch TV on my PC relative to my 52-inch television set, depending on how old you are. The fundamental need is that customers want to be able to watch content at a time and place of their choosing. And that's driving all of this behavior. So we as an industry, being cable, broadcast, specialty, the studios, the rights holders, have not moved fast enough to meet this need for the customer to time shift. And what we're proposing at Rogers, and what we're going to be rolling out this fall, is a broadband video site that would allow for all of the content that you associate with your Rogers television subscription to be available on demand, online.
Suppose I'm on Bell.
We're actively encouraging Bell to follow suit. And in fact, we've even talked about, is there a way that we, Bell, TELUS, could actually come together and work on a content distribution network that would collaboratively, that would allow for this content to be cached closer. So this is something that came up during the new media hearings, and people were saying, well, what are you going to do to protect local production, and what are you going to do to help Canadian culture? I think the most important thing we could do is make it really efficient for content producers to distribute their content online in the Canadian marketplace. And so having a CDN with this content cached locally and close to the customer would do a wonder for the customers, and I think be really good for us in terms of managing our networks.
Eric, do you want to?
Yeah, so there's a couple of comments there. The first being on the inefficiencies that Dave mentioned. I think that's somewhat true in the cable industry. It's an architectural issue where it was built as a broadcast medium. It was built to send a massive amount of content to an audience. And it's been a struggle, because I was part of that struggle at Excited Home, to retrofit that infrastructure to allow the users to communicate back to the world. That's not what it was designed to do. Fios and NTT and some other fiber to the node, fiber to the home networks don't share this property. So in that world, it's much, much more efficient for those subscribers, especially in Japan or Korea, where you've got 100 megabits up and down, to leverage that connectivity that's already in the ground. So the second point is, we recognize the cost shifting argument, which I don't think you use those words, but that is what we do often hear from our second most favorite constituency, the ISPs. And to see the ISPs and media embodied in the same person, I think this is a unique opportunity. Our two the people that really do hate us the most. But we have been more successful, and maybe it's because we are at our roots a technology company. We've been more successful in addressing the needs of the ISP community and the challenges that they have with BitTorrent. I won't bore you with details, but we have fundamentally revamped the protocol to, in essence, be friendlier than any other traffic that's on the network. So if you want to use the network to make a VoIP call or play an online game or even surf the web, our transport now recognizes that competing need for the network and will yield all capacity to that network.
What?
Something we're standardizing.
So whoa.
Why can we do this?
Well, no. Why are you doing it?
Well, we're doing it to address, I think, a fundamental concern that exists in the ISP world. I mean, you heard it expressed here, and BitTorrent's about technology solutions, and this is an area where we really do feel we can offer some assistance. And because we control such a large audience and such a large technology base, fundamentally with a simple software change, we can give a lot of the ISPs their capacity back, fill the valleys, and use their networks and every other network that much more efficiently. It's what we really do.